on when I said that I'm finally a grandma. My son and his wife had a baby on Valentine's Day.
Oh,
Wow.
sweetheart, a sweetheart. Good for you.
Congratulations.
Now
Hey,
it begins.
Hey, Eunice.
Her name is Clara.
Sarah?
Yes.
Clara.
Clara.
The
Got
nut
it.
Clara. Yeah.
Eunice,
Oh.
I want to try to find out why I can never get on my computer. I can only get on my cell phone to do this when I'm on Zoom all day, every day. I just can't figure out. It
I
says
am
I'm in,
not
it
sure.
says I'm in the waiting room on my
I'm not sure
computer.
what's going
Well,
on your end. And
Yeah. Yeah.
We
it might be
see
your
you.
computer. Anyway, we have a quorum.
Good.
So let's get started. The first order of business. I know approval of the agenda. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
All right. Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All right.
Aye.
All right. So the Pratt team is here. Ryan, is Ryan and Dory, are they on?
Yes, Ryan Patton
yes.
is our Pratt manager, and Dory, who has joined us before, is the quality assurance manager who oversees Ryan. So yes, they are with us.
All right. So without further ado, we shall let them take it away.
Okay.
Thank you, by the way, for joining us, Ryan and Dory. We're very pleased to have you here, and we look forward to asking you really difficult and hard questions.
Okay. Well, thank you
Boy,
for
nothing
inviting
like
us.
stressing somebody out, Chuck.
So, and forgive me if I'm repeating stuff you guys are already aware of. So I'm the chair of the Pratt or Planning Resource Allocation Team in the West Region, which consists of myself as a manager and directors and managers from other divisions in DDS. So we have the private division, the public, public is their own separate entity. Private division, the IFS division, and self-determination are now combined as one. And we received the request from case management in regards to the individual's needs, health and safety needs, and other things that individuals are looking to obtain for their supports. And right now, we currently have a lot of initiatives going on. So we have the Older Caregiver Initiative, and that is for individuals or the individual's primary caregiver, 65 or older, looking for either residential funding for IHS for supports in their current home, or if they're looking for supports in a residential setting, such as a community living arrangement, a continuous residential services setting, or a community companion home, CCH. And we have, like I said, quite a few initiatives that's really been helpful to the department at this time for funding people that we usually would not have the funds to do so. So we have CCH, and that is available to any individual looking for some type of residential support. They do not have to have residential funding prior. We have apartment setup and furnishings, and for individuals looking to establish their own home, they must have residential funding secured first, though. It's not for somebody without those funds and then requesting the apartment setup and furnishing funding. And then we have the Underserved IHS initiative. So for individuals with in-home supports, it could be in their own apartment or in a family home. They're able to come to Pratt if they've identified that their needs are greater than what they currently have established for supports. So we are able to fund those individuals now. Assistive technology and remote supports have been another initiative that have been approved. So for those individuals looking, instead of having, face-to-face time with services, if they're able to use a iPad or some type of electronic device to help them get some supports, and it doesn't have to be, some people don't like other people in their home, as we all know. I think we can all feel and understand that from time to time. So they're able to request those supports, and we're able to fund that. And then individualized day, we have an initiative for that. So that is allowing individuals to receive up to 30 hours per week if they wish to, especially if it's vocational, if the services are vocational based. And even if they want to do some vocational services with, just some social services. So one of the big things that we've identified as a department is that individuals, even though we are a vocational and occupational based agency, we would like people to also have established, natural supports, um, networking with others, just for that social component, which is missed in a lot of the individuals' lives, especially after they graduate high school. So, uh, so that's really an overview of the initiatives that we are promoting, and it seems to be helping the department. Our biggest struggle right now with all these approved services is the staffing crisis. So we just have a lot of we don't have the manpower, we even with all of our private agencies, to fund, not fund, I should say, but start the supports when the funding is approved. So I don't know, Dory, if there's anything I may have missed that you wanted to add.
But even if this is Karen, because I do my
Mhm.
own program and whatever, but it seems that even if, like, for instance, I find a person,
Mhm.
Pratt has one word and it's no.
Well, okay.
What do you
Just
mean,
saying.
But
Karen?
yeah, can you
I'm
If you
clarify?
can,
Yeah, can you
you can
clarify?
clarify. I don't.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not
for
sure I'm
instance,
following.
okay, well, my son is taking courses at Housatonic, so it's not vocational, but it is, that's how he, you know,
Mhm.
that's going to be his life going forward. And I think you and I talked about this, Shannon, because he is not online to go into a home. He can't get home services like the home health care services or whatever. So that's number one. And number two, I had to pay a lot more for my aid for my son because he's diabetic and epileptic. And I had to have somebody that really knew what they were doing, or he would, I mean, you can't even imagine. So I ended up having to cut the hours that I was originally assigned. I was originally assigned 40 hours, which he had always gotten all through from preschool until the day he graduated. And then I was approved for 40 hours through Pratt. But then when I had to pay this person a lot more, so I think I'm paying her like 27 something an hour, my hours got cut. That was the only way I could do it. And I really need those 40 hours. So every time I keep going back, it's no. So I'm sorry. I'm hijacking the meeting, but it is
No,
frustrating for me.
I will say, do you
I,
mind
I
if
was
I
I
go?
was just gonna
I'm sorry.
say, Karen, obviously, I think both Ryan and Dory would be happy to explain to you what you can or can't do, so to speak. I'm not sure having individual, dealing individually with your son on the call is appropriate or not, unless you want
Well,
to share all the information.
Charles, that's not what I mean. I mean, I'm also an advocate, and
Yeah,
that's from my parents. I'm hearing that Pratt says no.
yeah.
So
So,
I'm using my son as an example because I
no.
understand, but that's the impression, is that when you appeal or go through Pratt, the answer is no. That's the impression of the parents that I represent.
So I will say that we do have a certain criteria that we're looking for when we're reviewing requests, and we want residential funding because it is more in layman's terms, it's more expensive than day funding because there is a larger window of support for people. We are looking for the case manager and the rest of the team to explore different avenues. So one of the things we would ask a team to do if a person had no residential funding at this time would be to try the respite center or go to DSS for CFC, Community First Choice.
Yes,
That's built through Medicaid. We would ask
yes,
them to, utilize a family support worker. Um, some people will come and ask for the residential funding and have the no day funding at all. And we would like them to have the day funding to see if that offers any type of reprieve for the family.
but I guess my question is,
Mhm.
is if they don't want the two programs, like, some of my families have tried to access the other programs you're talking about, but it didn't work for their kid. Their kid was not happy or he was too behaviorally challenged. So is there something else that they could get in the home if that's what's working? I mean, right now, ABA, for my families anyway, has been the way to go. And there's very few really good people trained in ABA if they have, behavior issues. Um, so we got to find those people, number one, but you also need the hours, number two. And the ABA people are absolutely more expensive. So they're using their whole budget for that rather than using the CC, what is it, the home health care people. In my case, I don't even need the home health care people. I just need more hours on the program with the ABA person who gets it. So I'm just, this is what I hear all the time from my clients, that they're not going to appeal because they're not getting anywhere, or they can't get their DDS person to agree with it or to understand it. So I don't know. I'm just bringing it up because right now I've been doing this a long time, and with Fritz and everything, and he was, he was good. He was great. Maybe because he knew me, I don't know. But right now it's an issue. I mean, so I want to get those hours back, and I want to tell my parents that you can appeal if, you get a no.
Well, I think at this time, and every case is going to be different, as we know, but with the initiatives, we are able to fund a lot of things that we were not at liberty to fund in the past. We have the funding right now. So yourself and other families that um, feel like, they have some support, and like what you're talking about is if the individual or the caretaker is not over the age of 65, there's also the underserved initiative. So if they already have some type of funding in place at this time, um, now is their best opportunity to put in a request for that.
Okay, that's
If
good
they
to know.
don't have any funding, but they've been on the waiting list or planning list for years, and they are over the age of 65, now would
No,
be the
none
opportune
of them are
time.
over the age.
Yeah. Um, we're really trying to address those individuals that have those needs right now, and we've been
Okay.
afforded the opportunity to do so. So
Okay.
that's really what I can say.
All right.
So
Thank
what I'm
you.
going to do, is I'm going to go through the list of council members and in sort of a random order here. But Mickey, any questions?
Yeah, actually, Ryan, thanks for being here. It's informative. Is the principal barrier to people your ability to provide supports or budget for people to buy supports with? Is the principal barrier the funding on your back end, or is the principal barrier, and I think you mentioned the availability of staff?
I think right now is the availability of staff. Um, Day funding, day supports is something that we can, you know, for the time being, we're able to, fund those requests. Um, Very rarely will a day funded support, day request be denied. And the common barrier we hear from case management and from individuals and families is that there's just not enough program opportunities out there. And even when they go and private hire a staff, um, you know, um, there's just not enough people available for that. So that's the biggest barrier that I see at this time.
And one of the follow-up question, I remember over the years as people aged out of high school, and used to be 21, I think they extend it now, or COVID, they extended it a year or whatever. And there was a time where it was almost a given that that person would then receive money for supports in a day program. Is that, and they're obviously the age of the caregivers typically are much younger, you know, they're school age kids. Is that happening now on a regular basis, or is that also a little bit of a bottleneck?
In speaking with the transition advisors, which is a discipline in our department that deals with the LEAs, the school systems, as people are aging out and moving on to DDS for adult programming, we do find that there's still a barrier there. The funding is not the issue, because if an individual is identified to receive either day or rest supports, they do have a projection, and we are waiting for them to be accepted into a program. What we do find is that families and teams are just struggling to find appropriate programming for their loved one, and it might be past the deadline, because we do have about we have the fiscal year to place that individual. So that's the biggest barrier still I see in regards to age outs and grads.
And that's because the agencies that the parents are trying to get into can't find the people to handle their kids. Is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All
And
right,
also there's another issue of one-to-one. The agencies don't want to provide any one-to-one. That's my clientele, the people transitioning from school into DDS. And a lot of them had one-to-one aides, and the agencies don't want to provide that or can't provide that.
Yes, I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Lori, questions?
No, not a question, but that's, hearing that in both ends. I'm actually also now familiar with the South region. They're also struggling, and it's staffing. And I currently am bringing my son to his program, so I'm watching and I'm seeing these people. They have interviews set up with people, and most of them, don't show or might show and then don't follow up on things. So it's very hard for them to hire. And I think the programs are hesitant to take one-to-ones because, they can't shift people around that easily too. So it's difficult. But no other questions. I mean, I'm thankful to see there's the funding there, but how we fix the staffing thing, or we're not going to be able to fix that, but it's when we see movement on that would be a good thing.
Arlene, questions?
No, thanks.
Gil, questions?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, and is Marina on the line? Well, I want to say there might be there was a phone number. Not
There
sure.
was
All
a
right.
phone number, and I think we lost her.
Okay. All right. So, Ryan, just a couple of quick things. In terms of caregiver, we know there's a caregiver crisis. Mickey, going back to your comment, there was a funding crisis when I first came on the council. All right, the day program, that was Malloy, et cetera, et cetera. Just take the U out of the word and now put an I in there. Now it's finding help is the crisis. So we've gone from funding to finding. However, the Medicaid waivers are they will be amended effective May 1st to provide that parents can be paid and legally responsible individuals can be paid under the Medicaid waivers, the 3 DDS waivers. CFC is in the process of, the legislature is in the process of this legislative session of directing DSS to align CFC with the same component, that is to have the legal guardian and/or legally responsible individual be compensated to care for their loved one. So while I'm not saying that's a cure for the caregiver crisis, obviously in situations where parents where mom or dad, it's usually mom, frankly, have to stay home and take care of the child, they can now be compensated for that. And
And
on the
Chuck,
Medicaid,
where can
uh,
we read about that? Because I didn't know
um,
it had actually gone through, and you're saying it has, and it'll be effective in May. Where can
yep.
how do we learn what the
Uh,
stipulations are and everything?
well, see, I'm not sure it's posted on the CMS website yet. I'm not sure DDS has posted it. I can send you, I can send to Eunice and have it distributed to the
Yeah, that
to
would
the
be
county.
great.
What
That would
Chris
be great.
Ostrowski is the contact out there. So that's going to be effective, which may or may not be moved for my next question. Pratt still had the ability under the old Medicaid waiver to approve payments to legal guardians and in exceptional circumstances, legally responsible individuals. I'm just curious, did Pratt ever approve such a thing?
In the past, especially during the pandemic, there was exceptions, but it was very rarely approved and had to go through a lot of approval processes. Um,
Okay.
so it's not a standard, it was not a standard practice, but it will be um, more so, available for people to put that request in and have it be reviewed.
And then I think Krista's also mentioning that, Shannon, that there's going to be some sort of uh, information out there to the case managers to let the parents know that uh, they potentially could be compensated. I haven't read the complete waiver. Uh, Remember, the big change here is over the age of 18, you just had to give up legal guardianship, which was odd, and you get paid as a parent, right? So I always thought that was kind of a screwy rule. Um, but the big change is legally responsible individuals, which means under the age of 18, parents can get paid. So I'm not sure what the criteria is. I haven't read the amendment yet, but it's going to be, I think, less onerous than having to go to Pratt and then you had to prove that it was something other than a family fund, that you would usually provide for the person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully that will alleviate the burden for some families, by the way. Also, just to let you know, I mean, in terms of my experience with Pratt, yeah, I mean, it's been pretty positive so far. So I just want to knock on wood here with that. But of course, I'm older, right? So I'm over 65, and so it's like Christmas in July kind of thing. But do we have any other questions for Marina? I think you're back on with us.
Hey, hi. Sorry, I was having trouble getting dialed in. And I apologize, I missed pretty much all of the presentation, but not a question as much as a comment, but I know that there's also I don't know if you call it a committee or a group or whatever, which is some families with the higher needs children, children, young adults. And that's, I think, a super positive move that DDS has taken on to address the needs of people who need one-on-ones, some two-on-ones, some even higher for, both in their homes and also in day programs to figure out things like exactly that barrier that Karen was talking about. Because the staffing issues become even higher, and there's a whole swath of our people who've just been cut out of everything. So, there you go. How do you solve that?
Charles, I have a couple comments.
Sure. Fire away.
Krista, to respond to a comment you had made, Krista is preparing direction for DDS on how to do the implementation piece for guardians to be paid. So we're anxiously awaiting that. I did want to comment, Karen, on the you had said that Pratt's common word was no. I think with the initiatives, there's a lot more yeses, but if there is a no, the family does have the ability to request a programmatic administrative review, and I would hear that review. Not that I'm advocating for that, but if there is somebody that feels that,
Is that the
they
par, Shannon?
correct, yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. They've
And
done
a
that too.
a family can definitely submit that. Again, I'm bound to rules and regulations as well, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it would get approved, but it does have a second set of eyes. And then there's also, if there's a disagreement with the regional director's par, that can go to the commissioner's office for a final review. And I did want to comment, Marina, you commented on the individuals with higher needs. There's been a lot of discussion with the STEP project about the focus initially was on individuals that had less significant needs, but there's been a big push of recent to focus on the individuals that are more medically complex or behaviorally complex. So I know our deputy commissioner has been doing a lot of work on that, and there's the fourth forum Tuesdays where they're highlighting families and individual stories. And we've had great turnouts from families and individuals attending those, and those are listed on our website. That's it
so
for my comment.
I agree with that. Yeah, and I would say that this was almost a marketing problem early on, in my opinion. That when Peter Mason was describing it, here, there, and everywhere, it sounded a lot like, wow, this is great. Everybody's going to get their own apartment, and with some technology, they can live by themselves in the community. Yay!
Mm-hmm.
And that was only a piece of the actual picture, and the true bigger story is if we can do that for some people who maybe actually are being overserved right now in a situation that is more restrictive than they need because once upon a time that's all that existed, then that's fabulous for them. And it frees up resources for those who need more. And that's also a good thing. So that spectrum of services can be rebalanced. I mean, I think that story has not been told until now. It is being told better, in a better way. So yeah, that's kind of what you're saying, but I think that addresses the needs because it did originally hit very badly with the families of higher needs kids. Like, wait a minute, first of all, are you kicking us all out of our group homes, or are you just ignoring my child? And so both of those were not, felt well.
Lori Cifanello and I can remember that meeting where they were talking about, individuals living, and Lori and I are looking at each other going, oh my God,
certainly wasn't, certainly was not what we were dealing with, but when it works, but it's not for everybody. So it's individual.
There was a recent family that highlighted their son at the fourth forum Tuesday. I believe it was last month's presentation. It's an individual that I'm very familiar with that is in the West region who is has autism and has some significant behavioral issues, and 2-to-1, 1-to-1 staffing. And the family put a fantastic program together. This was an individual that had been in several group homes, just was never a good fit, and he's doing unbelievably well. So if you have an opportunity to watch last month's presentation, it's really great. It's the parents speak of the struggles and where they're at now. It's a wonderful story.
I'll have to watch that. Thank you.
Anybody, so just going around, any follow-up questions for Ryan or Dory? Ryan, I do have one follow-up question. You said technology for the individual, assistive technology. If the individual can't manipulate the technology, but the caregiver can, is that appropriate for funding through Pratt? So, for example, I'm just going to be very simplistic here. The individual doesn't really understand, they got to go to the log into Teams, and then suddenly the doctor appears, and there's either the doctor then conducts the review or the case manager conducts the review. Can the caregiver get the technology to facilitate the remote type of meeting such as that?
Ryan, are you still with us?
I think,
He is. I think he's muted though, if he can hear.
Yeah,
I think we were so harsh on him, he left.
No, 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 it's all good. I'll step in instead. The purchase of this assistive technology can happen. So say for instance, you want an iPad, the individual wants an iPad. It would be the individual's iPad, but the staff could support them to utilize the iPad.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
and that hopefully that helps.
Yeah, pretty much. They're the sort of the pen on the iPad. They're helping the person get through, so it makes life for them easier. All right, does anyone else have questions for, I guess at this point it's Dory. Uh, I think Ryan has left us.
And just really quickly, I know Ryan wanted me to
No,
share.
sorry about that.
Oh,
That's
oh,
all right.
I had a appointment phone call I had to take for my child. Sorry, go. Can you repeat your
Right.
question, please?
Ryan, did you want to share about the Meals on Wheels, or it's called something
Yes.
different?
So the Meals on Wheels, and they just came out with a new acronym for it. I don't know off the top of my head, but that is available to anybody with an annualized allocation, meaning whether they have only day funding, only res funding, or res and day. They're able to request Meals on Wheels 2 times a day to their home to alleviate that burden for themselves if they live by, in their own apartment, or for the family.
And I think they're calling it food delivery service, I think is what it's being termed as right now.
Yeah.
But we've been calling it Meals on Wheels.
And that doesn't affect Medicaid eligibility, correct? There's no like, oh, you're getting Meals on Wheels, so your income is now higher type of thing.
No, not to my knowledge. No.
Okay.
And how is that accessed?
You'd have to go to your case manager and request
Case
that support.
manager?
Mhm.
All right.
And
And
they will submit a Pratt request for that.
And there are 2 agencies, correct, Ryan? There are
Mhm.
2 agencies, correct, that are providing the food delivery support?
Yes. Mhm. Yep. So
Is
we're
there any
hoping
specific,
this services will be growing as we get more agencies on board, but 2 agencies have started the pilot, so to speak.
that sounds like
And
it'd
is
be a
that
good
in the
resource.
West region? Is it near us?
One agency is Mid-State ARC. I believe the other one,
CW
CW?
Resources?
CW Resources.
CW Resources.
Yes.
Mhm.
So we've been getting a lot of the Mid-State ARC. It's
All right. Any other
travel
questions?
pretty much all over the West region.
Any other questions for Ryan or Dory?
I have one last question in regards to the food delivery service. Is there any age requirement or have to be above a certain age for that?
That is a good question. Most individuals who receive funding besides our behavior support program individuals are over the age of 20, 21 or 22. So it says as long as they have annualized funding in either res or day, they would be eligible, but I would have to follow up on minors. I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm not sure about that. So I can follow up and then send that information over to Eunice to share with the RAC committee.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
By the way,
Well-
that alone was worth this meeting. That information alone was worth this meeting, so thank you.
No,
Yeah,
you're welcome.
I mean, I did get the note. By the way, I got an email on that program. So I'm just kind of curious. I guess I make the assumption that anyone who's in the system, so to speak, would get emails. But I mean, yeah, I got the email that talked about the Meals on Wheels, for lack of a better term, and the food
Yeah.
delivery service, and you could sign up. And and what you could do. So,
Well, you
and
incredibly are a VIP, Charles, and we are not, so.
Well,
Well, I'm old. I
initially
guess
when
I'm
it
old.
was rolled, initially when it was rolled out, it was only for those with residential funding, not in a CLA or CRS setting. And then I think after they reviewed the numbers and the request, they opened it up to individuals with day funding as well, because there's a lot of need there too. So it's been I think a positive thing, and hopefully that support will continue to grow.
And just to dovetail off of what Ryan was saying, I think COVID has taught us a lot. And I think just from us being sheltered in place, I think a lot of people advocated for people to have food service delivery because they weren't able to get out. And we have an aging population too. You want to be able to have people stay in their home. If they can't go shopping or get their food, they'll have the food service delivery. So I think it's a great benefit.
All right. So I think, first of all, I want to thank Ryan and Dory for your participating in the meeting. I know your job is not easy. You know, you're dealing with families with loved ones who have behavioral issues, etc. And, you know, they're coming to you for money, is what I'm assuming that usually is the request. And to turn them down, or it's got to be difficult decisions. And I know you have to do it on a case by case basis. You just can't. What's the old Jim Carrey movie, The Yes Man or something? You just can't say yes to everybody. So I really appreciate that you have a hard work to do there, and we thank you for your service to the constituents here at DDS and the children and loved ones that we serve, and we appreciate that. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
You're willing to stay for
Bye-bye.
the rest of the meeting. It's really entertaining. I mean, it's just a great time. We have a little song and dance going on.
I would love to, but I got little ones waiting for me over here. So yeah.
All right.
But I
All
appreciate
right.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. So then Eunice was kind enough, as always, to send out the minutes from the last meeting. And if you had a chance to review them, or if not, maybe, if somebody could make a motion to approve the minutes.
Didn't we do that already?
No, we approved the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I'll
I
make a
make a
motion.
motion
This is
to
Gil.
approve the minutes.
All right. So I think we heard that whether it was Gil or Karen, we'll give Gil primacy here. You were first off. Karen, you could be second. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, none, hearing none, minutes are approved. Just real quick, I already discussed, and I think I did send it to Eunice, the small blurb from Krista. April 1st, the amendment will be posted will be posted and available to read about paying for the caregiver. You should also know that there's an HB 5001 for this year that deals with community first choice and lining up community first choice with the Medicaid waivers to pay legal guardians and legally responsible individuals. Since community first choice is not a waiver, it has to go through a different process. And so the state legislature is asking DSS to take action on community first choice to align that with the payments of the Medicaid waivers. Then from the chair's report, Eunice did send out a copy of the bylaws of the North Region. Riveting reading, by the way. I don't know if anyone had a chance to read the bylaws. By the way, is anybody here a member? Not a member, but is anyone here designated as the ARC representative?
I mean, I may have been, decades ago. I don't know.
So basically, if you read the bylaws, there's just a quick review and the statute. If you read the statute, the Enabling Act. One, there's 10 members appointed by the commissioner. No employee of any state agency engaged in the care or training of persons with ID shall be eligible for appointment. but one member shall be designated by a local chapter of the ARC of Connecticut in the region. So don't know if we have one member designated, so designated. At least one member, this was Roger, who shall be an individual who is eligible for and receive services from DDS. But Roger hasn't attended a meeting in quite a while, so I'm not quite sure if he's still available. At least two members shall be parents of persons with ID. Members shall be appointed for terms of 3 years. No member, I laugh a little bit. No member may serve more than 2 consecutive terms. Well, I think we've all outlived our welcome, except a member may continue to serve until a successor is appointed.
Aha. The
Yeah, so until a successor is appointed, you're kind of grandfathered forever. It's indentured servitude on the council.
It's unlike
and then-
it's like the president of Venezuela, president for life. Yeah.
That's right. And then you can appoint a chairperson, vice chair, and secretary, and the council may make rules for the conduct of its affairs. Our regional director shall be an ex officio member of the council, but cannot vote. All right. So Shannon, no voting.
Okay.
There you go. And they talk about section 17A 273, which is the enabling statute, etc. I think that Eunice, remind me, wasn't there somebody said that there had to be an attorney on the council? But there is no such requirement, by the way. Obviously, you can resign.
Oh, sorry. I
Go
thought
ahead.
the West region had language in their bylaws about an attorney for some reason, and I'm not sure where that came from. Is that correct, Eunice?
That's what I believe I had seen at some point.
Oh, this is the North region, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the North region. But it pretty much follows, it's the statute. By the way, the statute doesn't say anything about having an attorney on, let me pull up the statutory language. Basically, the statute, it kind of repeats the bylaws. 10 members appointed by the DDS, no employee of any state agency, one member designated from the local chapter of ARC, one who receives services, two who shall be two members who are parents or have take care of an individual with intellectual disability, right? Terms of 3 years, but no more than 2 consecutive terms. Notice they use consecutive. So if you want to leave and come back, you can, I guess. Appoint chairperson. That's it. This is anything about attorneys. Now, May Ben is somewhere in the West, but I don't know. So Eunice, do we have a copy of the West bylaws?
I thought I had forwarded those to you. I will send it again.
Yeah, I'm looking at the North region for some reason. Oh, maybe it's because you did send the North region.
Are they switching people off, Chuck, in the North region? Or can't
Well,
you tell?
I think it's a question. Here we go. DDS West region. Name of this DDS. Consultant advised, may recommend. Eligibility, 10 members. 2 parents. Oh, and it does say, I'm sorry, you're right. 2 representatives of the incorporated Incorporated Local Association for blank citizens, right? So we need to change that. And an attorney practicing law in the state of Connecticut who is familiar with issues in the field of developmental disabilities. The remaining positions on the council will be recommended by the advisory council. Who's the advisory council? I guess the advisory council would be us recommending the other position. Kind of odd. 2 terms, make rules. If the owner is listening, right? You hold off until somebody else until you're replaced. Yeah, everything else is pretty much the same. I mean, it does get very specific about duties, etc. Approval of actions, adjournment of meetings, public meetings. You can go into executive session. I mean, I don't think we've ever had an executive session. Yeah, so we need an attorney who's familiar
Well,
with
Marina
DDS.
and I were advocates. We've been doing that for years. Do you still advocate, Marina?
Nope, retired out of that. I mean,
Oh,
Yeah,
and-
but
okay.
once
Well,
again,
I've been doing it for about 25 years now, so I don't know. And I'm part of the lawyer group that it's lawyers and advocates group or whatever that goes to COPA and stuff like that. But I'm not an attorney. I never want to be an attorney.
yeah, well, it's
But
an attorney. Once again, it's an attorney practicing law in the state of Connecticut. So, now, what does that mean? I'm not sure it means anything, frankly. I've asked attorneys, by the way, to join the council with no success, right? You know, but maybe with teams, it's easier. Back in the day, it was, you had to drive to the meeting. But if anybody knows an attorney who would like to participate on the council, feel free to invite them.
Mhm.
And I was supposed to have 2 members of the local ARC. I don't think we have. Yeah, it says 2.
Marina, you're in everything. Are you not a member of ARC?
I mean, I don't know what a member of the ARC even means. Like, what does?
Oh, okay.
I work with the ARC all the time, and I'm
Well,
friends with them. So what is that? What is a member? They don't have like membership dues or.
no,
what
I
does a
think
member
what
mean? No idea.
I think what it means.
No,
I
you
think
could,
what it
you could,
means is like
there are members. I mean, you don't have to be like, I'm a member of STAR. I'm also happen to be on the board, but I don't need to be on the board to be a member of STAR and qualify for that.
What it
Right,
says
but
is
that's the
2
point, is-
representatives of the incorporated local ARC. And I can tell you for the Developmental Disability Council, for example, Fran Truseski is the person who is designated. He works at ARC, so he's a representative of
So-
ARC.
Got it. So it means the local ARCs, not the statewide ARC. Okay, that makes more sense.
Right.
So that means any of the West ARCs that reside in the West region
Right.
could send some of their people, whether it's a
Right.
board member or president or whatever,
There actually aren't that
Senior-
many
senior-
ARCs in-
senior staff or something.
Yep, whoever. So that would mean reaching out, and that we'd have to ask them, they
Yeah,
have to be
that's-
appointed.
I don't know.
So
I don't think there are any ARC agencies other than STAR in the West region.
There's Lark,
Sure, there's
Litchfield,
and there's
ARC.
That's
Waterbury
Litchfield,
ARC,
oh, Litchfield County, of course, that's still, yes, okay.
Waterbury.
And
That's
Waterbury,
true.
yeah, I was thinking Fairfield County, but I had my wrong geography going. Never
All right.
mind.
Well, I can certainly reach out to Lark, I guess, right? Lark is the, or if Shannon, if you know of the local ARC agencies, I'll reach out to them and ask if they would like to join the
Have a
committee, the
representative.
council. I should say.
I'm sorry,
then
do
I-
you want me to do that?
Well,
Or
either
did you
either I
want to
can
do it?
either I can ask them or you can ask them.
Okay,
I mean, you tell me what you prefer. So there's
I
2
can ask
people.
them.
Yeah, 2 reps of the incorporated local ARCs. As for finding an attorney, well, I've asked a number of attorneys, and
I will take that on with the
There you
group
go.
that I'm in, and I will ask them. And also, as far as the individual that's getting services, does it have to be someone with an ID issue, or can it just be somebody getting services?
By definition, everyone getting services has ID, isn't it? Right? That's
Well,
or
yeah,
Prader-Willi, one or
like
the
one
other.
of the kids that I have, he's in his own apartment and everything now, so he's definitely getting services. And I was advocating for him, and he doesn't have ID, but he would be great on this committee. He's even doing like a podcast.
Well, I think, let's look at the statute. Um, let's see, one member shall be an individual who is eligible for and receive services from DDS, Department of Developmental Services. So that means
Okay,
if you're on an autism waiver, you're not getting services from DDS. If
Right.
you're just, so
right.
person has to get services from DDS.
Yeah.
So unless
Yeah.
that person's getting services, they wouldn't qualify.
Mhm.
Uh,
I think Shannon knows this individual I'm talking about, so maybe after the meeting, I'll just ask her.
Okay, I have a question though. The bylaws, who established them and can we change them to reflect reality?
yes, no idea no idea who created them, but you can remember this is the bylaws for the council. So the
Mhm.
council can change the bylaws. Now, we can't change the underlying statutory requirement,
Correct.
right? So we've got to have at least 10 members, right? That type of thing. Got to have at least, this person receiving services, one person from a local ARC, doesn't say two in the statute. Don't need to have an attorney, by the way. I mean, there's no requirement in the statute to have an attorney. So, for example, the Developmental Disability Council is in the process of revising their bylaws. And we can certainly change the bylaws.
And I understand each region's, obviously you just were referencing the North regions was different than ours.
Yeah, the North region doesn't say anything about an attorney.
Hmm.
Like the South region, the South region members are
Is
appointed.
there
by
a
the-
date on ours when they were put in place?
Let's see. The South region, it was effective January 25th of 2012. Okay.
2012.
Let's see what our bylaws. Is there any date? There's no date so far. Looking through it, I don't see any date on here at all. I mean, for example, part of the bylaws talks about going into executive session about the selection of a site or the lease, sale, or purchase of real estate. I don't think we're buying any real estate. Right? Public meetings, council shall have the discretion to limit public input at each meeting to 30 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Yes. You could have subcommittees. The bylaws of the council may be altered, amended, or repealed. No, we can just repeal the whole thing. By the affirmative, just do away with them. By the affirmative vote of a majority of the membership at a valid meeting. So we'd have to give 7 days notice before the next meeting. All right. So if you want to amend, repeal, or alter the bylaws, you have to give 7 days notice prior to such meeting and state that such alteration, amendment, or repeal will be proposed with a written copy of the proposal included in such notification. So, do you want me to compare the North, the South, and the West and just kind of skinny it all down?
If you want to. Oh, I shouldn't say anything. I'm an ex facto
Well,
member, so.
Well, you're not a voting
If you
member,
want
but
to.
your opinion is valued. Your opinion is very valued, Chad. We thought.
Well, it would just seem that it really doesn't apply some of those bylaws right now. So,
Yeah, I mean, for example, do we want to have the requirement that an attorney has to be on the council?
no,
I mean, we can always have an attorney on the council, just like you
right.
can have a doctor on the council. You can have it, all right? I mean, but I don't think we want to have a requirement to do that. Do we
Correct.
really want to have that? I mean, do we want two
I,
reps or
I would
just
like
one?
I would like to see a nuclear physicist on the council at all times.
Oppenheimer.
I would simply say that, for example, instead of 2 members of the local ARC, just go with the statute. It requires 1. I mean, the statute.
Agreed. And also, yeah, and I don't know what some of the purposes of those were. Like, why would you? I think having an attorney in special ed is interesting and possibly useful, but not having a requirement seems very restrictive.
Yeah, and you got to find somebody, and yeah.
Mhm.
Does that mean the council? Does that mean all our meetings so far to date have been null and void?
Invalid. Somebody wanted to bring suit. Yeah. And yeah, I would say, as a general rule, we should create a least restrictive environment
I was
for,
just going to say, it's been hard enough to find people,
yeah, I
much
mean,
less,
I-
a bunch of slicing and dicing of exactly types of people.
yeah. So
And-
I
and-
would suggest we eliminate the attorney. I suggest we eliminate the 2 arcs. And I think other than that, the rest of it is pretty innocuous.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
basically
agree.
whatever the statute says, that's
Excuse
the
me?
least restrictive. Whatever the statute says, that's the least restrictive.
Yeah, go parallel the statute. Why do we have to go off, make things more difficult?
Yeah, usually that's more, I mean, bylaws are far more important when there's money to be distributed.
Do bylaws say how long a person should also be on the council, like 2 consecutive, or I don't remember.
Says, yes, it says 2 consecutive terms, which clearly Arlene and most of us here have been in violation of for decades.
And,
That could
and
be
remember, it's
well.
a statutory requirement.
Oh, well,
that
then
is-
you can't. Then we don't have any control over that.
Right, it just says in the statute, that's what it says until you're replaced. And Marina, to your point, finding people to volunteer for the council is not easy.
Right.
Right. All right, so I'll kind of put together a draft, and when's our next meeting, Eunice?
It's the 3rd Thursday of April.
3rd Thursday of April.
That's pretty soon.
Yeah, and then we have a meeting in
Really?
May,
Is
and
that-
June, July, and August.
The
It's
third,
April
wait,
18th.
whoa, whoa.
April 18th.
That's less than a month.
We
Oh, just
usually
in
have it on
July.
the 3rd Thursday. Yes.
We don't meet monthly. Do we?
We've been meeting monthly.
Oh, I guess I
Yeah,
have.
We've been meeting months. Yeah, you.
And is there a meeting in May, Eunice?
Mickey, you've been
Yes.
on the yearly plan, dude.
Yeah.
I was at the last meeting. I just looked and my name was on the minutes, but
But we skipped.
But yeah, isn't it 9 meetings a year and then we skip the summer? So it's monthly aside from
okay.
the summer months. Do I have that right? Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, so I'm
With
not
the
going to get
exception
this.
of February, right?
Right.
So May will be when that's when we'll do something with the bylaws. I'm not going to get to it by April 18th. That's not realistic for me. Oh, there's a chat. Yeah, chat. Who's on the chat? Okay. All right, so that's my report. On to the director's report.
Okay. Just a few updates. I wanted to let you know that the Connecticut Family Support Network is having a conference on May 2nd. I will have Eunice send that out, and if you can share it with families, advocates, individuals, that would be great. It's a one voice conference. There's going to be tables set up. DDS is going to have a few different tables there. Technology, et cetera. So it's going to be in North Haven. That is probably what they determine to be the most central area for folks to get to. We are having a supported housing open house. LARC will be sponsoring that. There'll be individuals showcasing their apartments on Sunday, March 24th from 12 to 2, and then Tuesday, the 22nd from 5 to 7. So they've agreed to allow folks and families, whoever's interested, to tour their homes and showcase their technology and remote supports they're using. There's a flyer that was posted on the DDS website, the new DDS website. So I can also share that, have Eunice share that with the group as well. In addition, Project Search is out recruiting folks to participate. And there's also a flyer on our website for that. In the West region, we have 3 providers that are participating. Kennedy Center, Ableist down in the Greenwich area, Kennedy Center, Bridgeport, Trumbull, Stratford area, and then Lark in the Litchfield County area. So that's exciting. That might be somebody that the person that's overseeing it from DDS to come and do a brief overview. It's really interesting, and to hear some of the stories. So we can talk about that, Chuck, if that's something you want to do. House Bill 5001, we started meeting to start the planning and development and submitting a plan for the transition academies. Each region is supposed to have one. Temporary setting for individuals early 20s to later 20s to come in for a period of time and learn skills, everything from cooking, transportation, money management, etc. We're touring properties that potentially will be used in each region. The West region is looking, we really only have one option, is in Trumbull at this point, is a state-owned property. It's going to need extensive work. We're focusing in the region on critical incidents, looking at trends, which Dory had left the meeting, but very involved in looking at our license and inspections and our quality reviews to identify trends, health and safety issues, one-year licenses, to work with the agencies on that. In addition, there's been a big push in the West region for timely investigations to be completed by providers or our Office of Investigations to get them in and done fairly quickly. We had some issues where they had been delayed statewide, but we have some protocols that we have put in place, and the West region is doing very well. The providers are really stepping up, and we've also added some resources to help when we've had providers get behind. So I'm happy about that. I think that's it. I don't know if any of you have been watching the public health hearings. If you have nothing to do at night, they're posted on the CT News from March 1st. That's really the date that we were being highlighted. So the Children's Advocate came and spoke quite a bit about DDS homes and our critical incidents. Jordan also obviously testified. There was the whole, I haven't watched yet the appropriations hearings, but I've gotten through most of them. So that's pretty much the update that I have at this point. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Oh, one other
First, I
thing.
wanna
We have
thank you.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
I was going to say, I wanted to thank you for your input during last meetings, my soliloquy on dental, because that all got solved because of you,
Okay,
Shannon.
good.
So thank you very much. And then
Good.
the other thing I wanted to ask about is the GT independence thing that we're all panicking over.
Yes.
Oh my God, we love Shoreline. Every parent I know loves Shoreline. So we're like scared to death of GT independence.
Mhm.
So I unfortunately, they seem to be bigger than just like Milford, Shoreline had Connecticut, but GT Independence seems to be huge. So I'm reading online about the trouble parents have had with them and getting their people paid. And we really can't afford to do that here, especially in Fairfield County. I mean, our employees need to be paid. So I hope it's a seamless transition. It starts Sunday. And wow, just giving you a heads up.
Yeah, there's been a lot of concerns that have been brought forward by different families, and we've been funneling them to, we have a contact in the region. Each region has somebody, and then funneling them up to central office. I know that there's been concerns. We actually had a discussion this morning with the deputy commissioner. And the feeling right now is that, we have to give them a chance, and, we'll be addressing things as soon as we become aware. But, you know, it's a common theme that you're saying that parents are really scared,
Yeah.
caregivers, because it's critical. I mean, their staff has to get paid. So,
Right.
our central office is very aware and has been passing that information on to them, but I understand. But if anything specific comes up or you need
Mhm.
my help, I'll be glad to funnel that through. We're crossing our fingers and hoping Sunday when it kicks in. But yes, there's been a lot of
Okay.
feedback.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, what I did want to say was supported housing. There is a development that's going to be going into Southington. Well, actually, it's Southington ARC, but it's going to go into Cheshire, which is the West region. We did have a meeting with families. A lot of families just popped in to hear a little bit more about it. Obviously, that's for, you know, a certain group, as we talked before. But I just wanted to make you aware of that as well. And that's something that we are funding, but it doesn't look like that's going to open until 2025. We do have one in Naugatuck that's going up in 26. We're putting feelers out in other areas of the state as well. I know Star, Mickey has a new executive director and does have a lot of experience with that. So we're hoping that she can make the connections down there. I did have an initial with Katie when she was there where we went and met with the Norwalk Housing Authority where they're going to dedicate some units to a project they're doing. Not a lot. I think it was 6. So I've been in discussion with Mary Grace about that, the new ED.
Right. No, there've been there's a lot of that going on in Lower Fairfield County because any developer who chooses to add units for people with IDD gets a bonus, and the towns get a bonus in terms of the affordable housing statutes and all that good stuff. So there's some incentives that they're using in Lower Fairfield County that will help maybe increase the housing stock. And also I forwarded, and Eunice already forwarded out to all of us while I've been on this call, an email I got from the ARC asking for some advocacy on a particular piece of legislation prohibiting discrimination by healthcare providers and provision of healthcare services for our folks. And it doesn't seem to be any opposition, but it doesn't hurt to click on this and send a message that you support it. It looks like something that will pass, but it doesn't hurt for them to hear they're doing a good thing with this. So that you just got that email. So that's it.
I just had one other update on our positions in the West region. We were really doing well. We had all our case managers filled. When I started, we were down 12. We're back up to 9 vacancies. So
Great. That's terrific.
But we're now not at 9 vacancies, Mickey. We
No,
dropped
no,
back
that's
down.
not
Oh, I'm
terrific.
sorry. I misunderstood what you said.
So
Well, we had
Shannon,
them all
why?
filled and I was so happy, and then people transferred out and left the department. So we're back at 9 vacancies in the West region. And there's a whole process used in our job fair with the union that we have to follow. So sometimes it takes a bit longer, but
I think the
So-
rule of thumb, Shannon, is when we get a good case manager, we don't expect them to stick around because they're going to get promoted. So it's
I know
just a
yours did.
constant thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, that happens. And of course, in the private sector, in fact, I was at an ARC committee meeting recently, and there was some talk, apparently, one of the union, I don't know, one of the unions are in a different area, not in our field, but negotiating increases up to $30 an hour for direct care. I don't quote me on it. It's somewhere up there. So that will continue to put stress on the private sector. And of course, the private sector's always had the state as an option for people to go to and probably make a little bit more money. So it's just something that's not going to go away. And I've given my speech at this venue and others about the whole issue around it. I mean, I'll say the word immigration. You know, we need people to come into this country, particularly who are willing to do jobs in caregiving. And that's traditionally where the caregivers have come from. Some of South America and Haiti and Jamaica, and I don't know, I think we're going off the rails here.
Just
So
going
it's
to
really,
any nursing home, that's what you have. Exactly.
exactly, that's
Going to
always,
any nu-
but
Yeah,
that's
always.
not new. That's always been the
It's not new.
population who've
Not
done this
new.
work. And now we're shutting them down. We're making it really difficult for them to come into the country and to get, you know, a legal situation with a work permit or whatever it would be. And I mean, I'm frightened. I mean, I'm older than most of you, and the bulge of the war babies, I call them war babies. I think that's a term that people don't use anymore, but people who were essentially born after World War II from 45 to 60. And that's a bulge of people in the population. And if you're in that group of people born 1945 to 1960, the likelihood of the availability of caregiving is for you when you need it, as an elderly person, if you need it, is going to be impossible because, you know, that group is just a big percentage of the population. So we're doing very stupid things here as a country, and it's going to have very negative ramifications. And we in our field are the tip of the iceberg. I think we're the canary in the coal mine. And the fact that we're having difficulty now, in 10 years, game over. So with that happy thought.
Well said, Mickey. Well said. Well said. Yeah. Vote.
Vote. Vote. That's right.
You're on mute, Chuck.
All right, any new business or old business to bring up? Hearing none.
I have any,
Is there
like a
anything-
business. I have one question and just wondering if
Sure.
anybody else has heard any of this with other families, but in regards to probate and opening up individualized accounts, you know, for your loved ones, we just recently ourselves, and I've been hearing this coming now from other families where we had, you know, plenary guardianship for my son, went to change banks to have us all in one bank per se. And when we brought the probate papers that said we were plenary guardians, they're now asking for an additional document. And that sounds more like they're asking to see whether there's conservatorship as well, because they're talking about having to go back to probate and having to determine whether this also accounts for if you're, in other words, in charge of estate and finances. And that document alone with going with that is going to be a charge of $250. Otherwise, the account cannot open in that. That's not going to be proper. From what I'm understanding, more families are saying they're running up against this too, even with younger kids as they're turning 18, you know, starting or 21 and starting to get the same thing. So some of those documents before, the requirements are now changing.
Lori, are we talking about under $10,000?
Yeah, yeah.
And so in my daughter's guardianship, when we went there, there's really two documents that is issued by the court. One is the letters of guardianship. And then there's a secondary document that deals with the finances under $10,000. And that's all that was required by the bank to open the account. So there's no conservatorship. I mean, I think if it's over 10,000, it's obviously you got issues, right? You got resources to spend down, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, if it's over, you're talking about if it's over, but no, if this is the under, so a document of just plenary guardianship alone is no longer.
All I know is that when we went to the bank, there's the legal guardianship certificate, you know,
Right,
take care of the person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
right,
And then there was a secondary document right behind it that talked about under $10,000, you know, the assets of less than $10,000. We have to do an accounting every year or every 3 years as to the probate court. For example, the probate court sends out this is the first year in her guardianship. So she's on Social Security, disability income, and she was on SSI for a little bit. So in year one, we had to report all her income and then all the expenses and how it got paid. All right. She has no resources, none that are countable anyway. Then you can either do the accounting every year, or after the first accounting, you can put the accounting off for 3 years. Now this, I don't know if the probate courts are different. This is kind of in Connecticut, they're all regional, right? They all have these different regions, as opposed to a uniform probate code like that.
I've never had to do any of that.
Yeah. So we had
No.
to do an accounting on that. And so the recommendation from the clerk was you do it every year, because otherwise you got 3 years of income to report. But anyway, getting back to the documents, and I'm not sure I can pull it up and send it to you, because I don't know where it is on my computer right now. I have so much stuff. But it was just letters of guardianship, and then the plenary doc, then the under $10,000 in terms of finances, and the bank was happy. But yeah, I know the $250 is every time you go to court and you file a motion.
Yeah.
For example, we wanted to change the backup guardian, not the plenary guardian. But for example, when we removed her mother as guardian, we had to pay $250. I mean, it's like, you mean I can't just resign? That seems odd. But anyway, maybe I'll
yeah, just,
I'll pull up the documents and send it to you.
okay,
because,
yeah, I'd appreciate it.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, that's what our bank was happy with. So they were fine. So I don't know.
Yeah. Now, interesting, when I asked, I called the probate, I'm now in Madison, and I called probate because first off, when I went there, we have, my husband and I are plenary guardians, and my 2 older children are standby guardians. And this form now did not list the standbys. So when I questioned them, they said, no, they're not longer putting the standbys on this initial document, but it is recorded through the probate court. Be honest, that makes me a little nervous. It's just like, well, why would you remove that off of a, doesn't make sense to me, because it still was that legal document. So if something happened to my husband and I, immediately, they would have that document in hand with their name on it. So I'm going to question that if we have to go back through that process. So, and then when I spoke to the clerk through the probate, she said some banks might not require that. So it's a little confusing. So it's like, well, why might some, might not? And just a plenary guardianship is enough to establish that account. And others, it's going to require the family to go through a probate, open up a case and have a $250 cost to it as well. So I don't know.
Well,
I'm going to make a couple of calls to some local banks here too, just to see what they say, what's their requirement.
And it might be a bank. It might be a bank issue. I can tell you. I've just pulled up the
Yeah.
document. The court further finds that Gabrielle Bergamo needs assistance with finances. It's ordered and decreed that the guardian, Charles Bergamo, shall have the authority to hold and manage the protected person's income and assets for the benefit of the protected person, provided the protected person's assets do not exceed $10,000. And then it just, that's all that the bank required that. And then the second document, which was all one package, by the way, wasn't like we had to file a separate
Right.
thing. And the second document is the actual guardianship document, where it provides to, residents and designed educational, vocational, behavioral programs, et cetera, the usual stuff. that a
Right. That's what we
guardian
had.
needs.
Mhm.
Yeah. So not sure why the bank wouldn't open up an account.
Yeah, not sure. I mean, well, the account actually got opened, but what happened, then the representative called us back and, they said they're asking for more information and you're missing this document. So you're going to have to go back through probate and get that as well. So it's just a little confusing. And when I spoke to some people that, work in the family center where I have worked before, she said she's getting calls from her families also saying, when they go to open up the accounts, when the kids are of age, that they're also being told, no, you have to go back what they had originally is no longer okay. They need the second part of that.
Yeah, there are two parts. That can be confusing.
Yeah.
There's the guardianship, legal guardianship over the person, and then there's the authority to manage their income and resources under $10,000.
Right. Okay.
All right.
The only
But
thing,
thank you for that.
the only thing I can add is it's very strange when I needed to reapply for my guardianship. I filled out all the paperwork in November and I still haven't gotten it back. It's never taken this long and I have gone to them and how long does it take when you need to reapply or whatever the word is. Has anybody had that long an experience, a wait? No?
Is it a new probate judge?
No.
No, okay, because I have been hearing some reports where there's been some of the newer judges. The transition over has been, some things have been delayed, but that doesn't seem like that would apply here.
No, I don't understand, but anyway. I am the guardian and c'est la vie. I'm not gonna, it's not a big deal. I just think it's ridiculous how long it's taken, you know? That's all. They
Okay.
act,
All right.
don't.
I was going to say, is there anybody from the public on?
I don't see anyone.
Okay. Well, that eliminates public participation. All right. I think it was an excellent meeting, by the way. Some great information out there. Lori, I'll send you the two documents that I have.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You know, and see, maybe you have the document and you just like I missed that document too, by the way. It's like, oh, it's stuck to the back. The other document. All right. Does anybody have any requests for our next meeting in terms of? I know Shannon's always coming up with these great speakers, so maybe we can talk about. You know, would be maybe GT independence. That would be interesting. You know, maybe we'll wait on that.
That
until we
would
see
be, that
good-
would be excellent.
Let's see how good or bad they are. But I wonder if one of if GT Independence might be able to pop on a call, council meeting for a short bit.
I don't know right now during this transition with the time. I can certainly ask, and if they're not available next month, because they'll be in the midst of the whole transition, I could have the representative from the region attend as the second option.
Okay, when you say the representative of the region, that's GT's employee or DDS?
No, it's our go-to in between person.
Oh, okay. So that might be an option. If everything's smooth and easy, then not. Well, even if it is smooth and easy, we can maybe get somebody to talk to us.
You don't expect it to be though, do you?
Let's
Shannon,
work on
was it a money issue? Is that why they changed it? Because it was a money
No,
issue?
my understanding was it went out for RFP, and whoever was involved in the committee, which I was not involved in, that's why they were selected. I don't necessarily think they went with a low bidder, but I wasn't involved at that level. Because when they're doing
Also,
the
Allied-
RFP, they're
Allied-
looking at several different factors, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Sunset Shores was always known as the better of the two, FIs,
Absolutely,
and
Marina.
Allied was a hot mess, as I will
Yes,
attest on my end.
exactly.
And so I think that was maybe one of the reasons that there was a push to change vendors. So we shall see.
We shall see.
All right. Well, with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
All
I
right.
second.
Mickey seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for
Good night.
attending.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye
Karen, did
now.
you want to stay on? You had a name you wanted to discuss with me? Oh, you're on mute.
I just want to say this meeting's being recorded, so let me see if I
If
can
you stop the
stop the
recording and then
recording.
Karen and I
Yes,
can speak.
okay.
Okay.